this video we'll be walking through this solution. We'll try to replicate the entire sign up page that we can see. We'll be coding along. So without further delay, let's get started. So for this I'm using a visual code editor. First of all, what you'll do is you'll create a sign up folder. Sign up. So inside sign up folder, we'll create a file called sign up. We'll create an HTML file and CSS file. So we will be using plain CSS, not CSS. So let's create an HTML file, sign up.html. All right. We will also be styling the entire form. So for that we need a style file. Right. We'll be using an external file sheet called style.css. So in here we will be putting all the CSS for styling our form. So before we diving forward for coding, let's plan our way of doing it. So what we'll do is we'll go from top to bottom, and we'll do this into two parts. So what we'll do is we'll break this project. You can say a mini project. We'll break this project into two parts. One will be the basic info part, and another one will be your profile part. So we'll do this in two parts, right? In this video itself. So as you can see, we have very simple layout, right? We have a simple layout where we have multiple input boxes, and we have a couple of check boxes, select, and we have a button. So for this, since this is a form, we will be using a form tag, because it's a good practice to use form tag to collect the user input, and if you want to send this data to a server. Right now we are not using any server, but it's a good practice to use. So because definitely you might be using in your other projects, collect the data and save it to the server. So definitely that will help. So let's get started. Let's start with the basic HTML file. Create an HTML file, tag, and then we'll create a header. So inside head tag we'll just include two things. One is the style sheet link, and another one is the title. Although this is not necessary, but it's good to do it. Title let it be sign up. And since we have an external CSS file style sheet, so we have to include that in our HTML file so that we can import all the CSS class that we are writing in the style sheet. For that we have to use a link, and it will be a relationship. It will be a style sheet, and the link to style sheet will be style.css. It's in the same folder. So yeah, once I design, we'll start with the body, where all the main entire form will come. So we'll treat the entire sign up form as one section. So we'll drop in the tag called section, and we'll give it a name called section, or section. We'll rather give it a class called section, right? And then, as I told you, we'll be using a form tag. We'll wrap this as an inner form tag. Name it to sign up. Cool. So once we have form tag, the very first thing that we see over here is we have a heading called sign up. So we can use there are multiple heading that we can use in HTML. There are H1, H2, H3. We'll go ahead with the H2 tag. I think H2 tag will be sufficient for us. H2, and we sign up. Right. So H2 text will come in a bold. It has a certain predefined font size, so it will look bigger and bolder, right? So once we have a style sheet, we'll move ahead with the first heading. We have a two heading. One you can see is the basic info. Second one is your profile. So let's create the heading. For heading, what we'll do is we'll wrap this into a. I'm just talking about the heading. So what we'll do is we'll wrap this into a div, because we have to make it block. We have to make it block type where both the field come in the same line, right? um, so let's call div, and then we'll give it a class. Let's call heading, not heading, subheading. Let's say subheading. So inside subheading we have two fields, right? One is the green background with the number, and the another one is the text. So for to achieve this particular number thing with the um, round background, we have to apply certain style for that. So what we'll do is we'll wrap it again into another table, and we'll call it as, we'll give a name as number, right? And then we'll use a p tag with for the number itself, and another one will be again p tag for the subheading, that is your basic style. So why we are using p tag? Because it's a block element. We can also use span, but I think it's good to use p tag here. So we have a simple style. Let's see how it's turning up. Right. Let's see. Sign up. Alright, cool. As you can see, we have a sign up. I think we have made some. Okay, so we have made a mistake here. See when a title was coming. Alright, this is panning up. The very first thing what we'll do is we'll center align the entire form, right? Center align vertically and horizontally, center align the entire form. So for that, we'll apply the CSS a bit later on. Let's first write the HTML for it, and then we'll go ahead and write the CSS for the same. Okay. So we have got the heading, and now we move towards the section 1. Let's call it just section 1, right? Class. We can say, yeah, section 1. In section 1 we have a entire basic info. In section 2 we have a profile info, right? Alright, this is also a part of section 1 actually, the heading. So we'll wrap that as well inside this section 1. Cool. So in section 1 we have name, email, password, and the name will be a label, email will be a label, and password will be a label, and will be have an input box. So let's call label. For we'll give the phone name. First it will be a name, right? And we have to use input box. So there are different type of input box. So at the very first thing we need just a simple text. So we'll use the text box, and we'll name it as name, right? And we need to close the tag. Since we are using HTML5, it's necessary to close the tag, or just you are violating norms of the HTML5, right? So just replicate this one, copy paste it 3 times, 1, 2, and 3. Alright, so since this is a name, and this will be email, and we have a type called email as well. So email type help us in validating the email as well. So it's a built-in feature in HTML5 where if you're typing a wrong email ID and you try to submit with the wrong email ID, to give you an error that this email ID is not correct. So it's pre-validated in the browser in HTML5. So we have another field called password, right? So we have an input type called password as well. When you give a type as password, so when you type password, it will not be visible, it will be an invisible password. And we have to give a for field as well. Why we need a for field? Because it helps us in user to it helps us to associate the label with the input field, right? Suppose if a user come and click on the name field. It will help. Click on name field with the 4 field. It will help us in focusing to the input field. Right. And for that, for the 4 to work, we have to give an ID. The 4 and the ID should be the same. So we'll give it the name, and also 4 we'll give the 4 as name. The 4 and the ID name should be same. A name can be anything, right? It should be same. The value or the text should be same, so that uh, it will have an association with the input field. Right? And here we have an email, and we'll give an ID of email. Here we have a password, and we'll give the ID of password. All right. So we have written name, email, ID, and there's a. This is called. So we have to use a checkbox. Why do we use a checkbox? Not checkbox, radio button. So why do you use a radio button? Because see, in age you can have only one age. You cannot have a multiple age, right? So checkbox, radio button help us in selecting only one field from a group of you can say radio box, right? So you can group it according to a certain you can say certain type, right? So this is the age type, where in age you can define the age criteria, and the user will be able to select only one. So that's use of radio box. Let's quickly make the radio. We'll wrap this inside a div, and we'll call it as age. Since it's an age, right? Okay, we'll call it an age, and we'll also name it as age, right? This is an age, right? So we have two radio boxes. We'll wrap each radio box inside a div, so that it will help us in laying out the HTML according to the design. Right? You can break, if you wrap each radio box inside a div, it will help us in making a block type of element. So again, input type is, will give an input, and iniquity type radio. Again, we have to give an ID. Let's say we have under 13, over 13. Let's say either it's under 13. We'll give it name as age, and value as under 13. So why do we need value? Because see, if you are sending a data to a server, so from the backend or from the JavaScript, if a user select a radio box, you will be able to get the value from the value field that you can see here. Right? So for that reason, we use it's important to use the value, and we have to again make the label, and we have to use the 4 field. 4 field will be similar to the ID. All right. And it's under 13. Under 13. So this is one radio box, and we need to one second radio box here. So it will be over 13. Right? So just change everything over 13. Over 13. Over 13. Over 13. And one more important thing about the radio boxes, the name should be same. If you are using a name here, age, then so name help us in grouping the checkboxes or radio box. I'm really sorry I'm telling checkboxes again and again, but it's a radio box. So name field help us in grouping the radio box. As I told you, in a radio box you can select only one field. and you can have a multiple review box and you can group it according to the name. So the name should be same to group it together, and from that particular group you can select only one review box or one field, you can say. Okay. All right, so we have completed the first part, and we will go to the design and let's see how it look like in the browser. Okay, this is pretty blank and we'll start styling it according to design. So first of all, what we'll do is we'll center line the entire thing. Let's go um, let's go to the HTML file, and then we'll center line the entire section, right? We'll center line according to the page, center line in the page. So for that, what we'll do is we'll give it a width, say width not 100%, but we'll give like 460 px. I think that should come out. And one more thing, we'll be using p pixel um, for giving a margin or height or padding. There's few more options like enum and rem, and rem, but for a standard practice and to be consistent, we'll be using px throughout this course. Okay, it's good to be consistent. If you're using em and rem mixing up together, it might be confusing. Alright, so we have given the width, and yeah, so to the center alignment we can just give margin auto. To give a margin auto to its center line, we come in between the as you can see it came in the middle of the page. Let's give the background. Background color. What should be the background color? Light blue. Light. Let's use light. Let's use light blue. Okay. And so we have to, as you can see, there's a space between the input box and the left side and right side of the box. For that, we have to use padding. So padding applied inside the box and margin applied outside the box. Alright. So if you use a padding, as you can see, we have a good layout that's came in. Alright, fine. Let's center line the sign up. Okay. To center line the sign up heading, you can say H2. We have wrapped this into H2. Just type H2 and if you say X line it will center line it. And I think this is a bit smaller so that we can increase the font size to 32 px, I guess. Yes. So it came in the center and we have center line. Now, first thing is done. Let's design the subheading. Alright. So for subheading, what name we give? Alright, we gave a subheading. Alright. Okay. So we give subheading, and then we have designed a number. As you can see, there's a green background with a circle, and we have a number 1 inside it. So we'll achieve this using only CSS. We'll not be using an image or any sort of thing. Right? To do that, so as we have seen, we have wrapped this inside a div, and inside a div we have a p tag with a number 1. So we have to define or give a CSS to the entire number thing. Right, so give a number, and then let's say we have to give a width and height so that we can make this circle. So let's say width equal to 36 or 40 px. Okay. And height will be 40 px. So we have given width and height to this particular box. Okay, and then let's say background color green. Right? Let's say background color green, and the text color is white. Okay, that will be applied to the p tag. Now let's see how it's coming up. Alright, I'm sorry. Let's apply the number, I guess. Alright, I think I'm doing some mistake over here. Alright, so what happened is the class spelling is wrong. So the class spelling is wrong, that's why it's not visible. Alright, you can see that we have achieved the boxes. And to make it run, we have to use radius, right? So border radius will be 99. No, not border radius. It will be a radius. Oh, so sorry. It should be a border radius. The border radius 99 pixels. We will make it round. And inside the heading tag, we have a p tag dot number p tag, and then we'll say color is white. The text color is white, and let's increase the size of the text one size. Increase the font size. Let's keep it at 18 px. All right. So as a UI developer, it's very important to understand. It's very important to know how to inspect it. So just to show you, if you're not aware of it, right click on it, click on inspect. Once it's there, click on the small arrow on the top right, and then hover over the element that you want to inspect. So when you inspect, on top you can see the HTML, and on bottom you can see the CSS. So you can see whatever CSS we have applied. So just now we have applied the color white, and we have applied the font size 18. So what we have to do is we have to take this into the center. To do that, what we can do is let's let's make it as position relative and position absolute. So we'll make the number class number as position relative, and we'll make this PS or position absolute. What we'll do is position relative help retain its current position uh, it, without changing the layout around it. So it will not change the layout around it, and it will retain the current position. And when we use absolute position to each child element, uh, any change in the layout around it will help in changing, and we can use the properties like left, top, right to give it a style according to our needs. So what we'll do is we will use a position relative, and then for the inner child, we'll use the position absolute. So if once we use the position relative and absolute, we can see, and then we can give a left, say 20% or even more. So this is the power of browser. So let's left it 40, and say bottom is minus 20x. Okay, I think this will look good. So just copy this and paste it in your CSS. Perfect. So it's very important to know how to use this Go Developer Console. If you are a UI developer, it's a must. It will help you in that. Right. So we have designed the subheading, and then let's align this with the name. So for the name, right, subheading. So to align it, what we'll do is we'll make it display flex. So flex is it's a layout module. It helps us in flexing the layout accordingly. So, alright. So what we have done is we have done one small mistake. Okay, number. Okay. So subheading. Right. So we have to apply to the subheading, and we'll say display flex, so that both the both of this child come to the same block level. Okay. And then subheading heading, we have to style the basic style. As you can see, subheading in the parent, and we have a two p tag, right? This is one and this is one. So this is the first child for this particular class. This is the first child, and this is the second child. So what we can do is, without giving class, we can say p of nth child. Nth child is the, so we have to apply CSS to the second child of p. Okay. So for that we can give font size 30 px 26 px. Okay. Oh, right. You can see that the style is being like, and there is margin that is being applied. Okay. As you can see, there is margin of 26 top and bottom. We'll give we'll make the margin of 0, so it will come perfectly aligned, and then we'll give a padding left 14 px. Okay, cool. So yeah, there are some headings, and then we'll start styling the input boxes. So first, let's style the label that we have. So as you can see, the label by default doesn't have any block element or type. So what we'll do, we'll make it a block element, so that the input box will go below the element. Perfect. Let's give it a margin bottom 10 px, and then let's style the input box. Input, let's give it a height of 40 px, and width will be, as you can see in the design, width is according to the size of the parent. So it will be 100%. We'll take the width of the parent. Perfect. Alright, so as you can see in the design, there is no border, and we have to give a background color inside the text, inside the input field. So we'll remove the border, and we say we don't want border none, and then we also will have to give the background color. So background color, what we can do is we can give blue, light blue. Right, let's give this color. All right, yeah, perfect. And let's give a padding so that there's a perfect gap between each input field, and say padding bottom 20x. Right. Okay. Alright, it's not be padding, it should be a margin. Padding, as I told you, padding apply inside of inner box, and margin apply the outer box. Perfectly. Oh, we have one problem over here. See, you can see the radio button have become very huge. So why is this happening? Because we have given style to input tag, and radio is also one input tag. So whatever style we have given to the input field of this email, password, and all, it's being applied to the radio box as well. So we don't want that. So what we can do is we can define the type. We can define the type in the HTML. Say I just want to apply the CSS to type text. So this is just apply to text. Okay, so we have to apply for the password as well as email and password. So what we can do is we can simply say input type equal password, and input type equal email, and yeah, that's all. We have to apply for this too. So now you can see the age is, the CSS is not applied to the age. Cool. Let's design the checkbox. Alright, so yeah, since the checkbox are in the inline, let's just give a call the parent class, and first give a font size to the label. So let's say font size will be 18 px. Okay, and then okay, so we have wrapped each radio box inside a div, right? And what we can do is okay, so this thing is we can say for age make it a display flex. So what it will do is it will okay, all right. So this is not what we want. So what we can do is we can give it a class. Age radio. Age radio. Okay. And we can do the age radio. And say display flex, so it will come perfectly like how we want it. Right. There's a little margin that's been applied. We can remove that and put margin right taking applied on the type equal to array to array. There's a little margin that is applied on the radio box. So let's keep the margin 0. So it is a line. Let's say margin less 0. Okay. So I think that we are done with the first section. My battery is running low. So I think we are done with the first section. Basic info. Let's go ahead with the second section. I think second section will be done quickly. Let's copy the first section. This is the first section. This is the second section. All right. In second section, what we have a text box, select field, and then we have a checkbox. All right. And we have a heading again. So we have already designed the heading. So what we have to do is we have to just copy and paste it and change the number and change the text in it. Perfect. So we have already applied the styling. It will automatically get applied. Simple as that, right? And now we can use the text area. Text area, let's give it a name as bio. It's about bio. Let's give it ID as bio. Alright, and since it's a text area, we have to define the number of rows that we want in the text area and number of columns. So just define number of rows. If you give more rows, you know, the text area will be larger in height. If you more columns, the text area will be larger in width. Okay. Text area. Oh, we have to give label as well. Label, and 4 will be, let's say, bio, and what is about bio. All right. So yeah, I do bio. Cool. Okay. So I think we have given this inside this heading tag itself, right? So we have to remove this from the heading tag. let's style it later. Let's just define the select box and the checkbox as well. So as you can see in the checkbox, it's a multi-level checkbox. Okay, um, you can say group of inside the checkbox. There's a group, so we can see a group. There's a group for web, there's a group for mobile, and there's a group for engineering. So for that we have to use select, and inside select we have an option called opt group, right? So opt group will help us in defining the group inside the select box. So let's quickly define a label first. And let's say it's about job role. Let's just select name, yeah. All right, so as I told you, we have an option called opt group, and the name label will be the first is web, mobile, and business. So it will be web. So inside opt group we have to define or option, a drop down option. So option value, again value is important if we are using it for a backend purpose, right? Because it's a value that will be read from the JavaScript. Let's say we have a front end PHP Python, front end, okay, front end, all right, front end. I'll not include all the fields. Let me include all this many fields. I'm running low battery. Okay. PHP, okay, we will define the option PHP, and then let's define the web developer, right? We say web developer. So this is one group inside the option. Same thing we can do for another group. Just copy and paste it. We have two groups. So the next group is mobile, and okay, inside the mobile we have Android, iOS, and mobile design. Android, iOS, mobile. Android, iOS, mobile. Cool. And the third group which we have business. And we have in business we have business and we have freelance. So these are all the options that we have to define. Alright, cool. Alright, I think we have defined that. As you can see, we have a input field. So I think our design is already there. What we no, we have to, okay, we'll design it later. And for the last field that we need, last two fields, button and checkbox. For checkbox, let's use a class called checkbox is about interest. Right. Okay. In checkbox we have input type equal to checkbox name equal to, let's say, interest is one type of interest, and the value equal to development. God, we have to close the tag and label it, label 4. Interest 1. Let's give it the ID as well, because if we use 4 we need to give ID to associate with it. So development, please excuse my typos. Alright, let's wrap each checkbox inside this. So as I told you, name should be different in checkbox, because in checkbox what we can do is we can select multiple fields, whereas in radio box we can select only one field from a group. So hence the name should be different, and the ID should be different as well. This design and alright, so I think one last thing that we need to do is we have to give the button type will be, obviously it's a button, type will be button. Let's give a class as sign up. Cool. Let's start applying CSS. Let's select everyone with 100%. Oh, what we can do is we can use existing style only. So just put a comma and say select. Cool. So I think this thing I applied, and select done. And next thing we have to do is put a style to the checkbox. Interest and say display text. Okay, this is done. Let's give it. Let's define the text area as well. Text area, so it should be 100%. The border will be none, and background color will be and so we have to give the background color like how we have given for the input box. Yes. And finally we have to design the button. I can say height will be a height of 42 px. I will give a width again 100%. We take the width of the parent and say background color aqua, and text color will be white. Yeah, I think we're almost done, and we just remove the border of the border of the button. So we said border, we don't want border so none. Okay, so two more things we'll do. We'll just give a spacing, appropriate spacing. We'll give it margin top, so it will be 30 px, and below text margin bottom 20 px. I think it should do, and we have to separate the video profile. Will give a little bit margin top here as well. Where is the second? Yeah, this is the class name equal to second section 1 will be section 2. So what we can do is for section 2 given margin drop to 30 px. Okay, I think this is it. We have almost replicated the design like how it should be, and yeah. So as you can see, there's a drop down. The drop down design might look a bit different because it depends on the operating system. I'm using a Mac, so my drop down design looks like that. If you're using a Windows, your drop down design will be a bit different, so don't get confused over there. Right? Okay, thanks for joining in, seeing the video. Thank you so much.